Okay, let's see here. I'm gonna look for a couple more people. Looks like some of the other people who texted me have gotten in. So we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome to the 2021 Fall Leagues Clinic, Rules Clinic. So I know in the past we've kind of done most of this around high school, and we've slowly evolved it to beyond high school. And tonight I really want to talk about officiating overall and all the different rule nuances that we all have to keep up with for all the different leagues that we officiate. I feel like I provide a disservice if I only talk about the high school rules when we have several other leagues that have their own rule nuances as well that can create us problems. So, you know, every video conference is different. I forgot, I don't think Zoom has a hand up functionality per se. So feel free to type questions in the chat box. That'd be one way to interact, as well as feel free to interrupt me. Well, look at that. Joseph has got us his hand up. Well, it's a thumbs up, but I guess that works too. Oh, I saw a hand that somewhere there. Chris Thomas had a hand. Well, look at that. There you go. You guys are smarter than I am. So if you guys want to talk, you can feel free to use the hand raised, or you can talk as I take a breath between sentences, however you want. You also can take a look at and do something in the chat box. I can kind of look at that as well. So any of those functions, make sure you get your questions answered tonight, because that's what this is really about, is making sure that you feel prepared on how to get out onto the field and officiate this fall. So I know one of the questions that came up was about the fitness test. For those that couldn't make it this last weekend, or for those who decided that they want to have another try at doing the fitness test, there will be one, I believe, in November in the Tri-Cities area. I'm not sure if that's been posted on the SRC website or not. Do you know, Wayne?
That's still, it's either going to be the 7th or the 14th. We still haven't firmed up a date. Okay.
Okay. So we'll get that. That'll get posted to the website sooner or later. And then I know that my brother's also trying to look at scheduling another one on the west side of the state in October, and we should hopefully have that scheduled here in another week or two. And we'll do like we did last time and try to share that information with everybody. So I think now you guys should be able to see my slideshow, and we'll go ahead and get started here. So these are the items that we're going to cover. Let's see, let's get rid of that. Okay, here's the items that we're going to cover today. And as I said, if you have questions as we go, please ask them. So first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about RidgeStar. It's amazing on how many questions I get about RidgeStar, and so I thought it might be useful to actually go in and show it. So I think one of the things hopefully everybody's figured out on this call is if you want to assign to games, you can do that through the inquiry screen. And I have it set up so it's going to show me all my games plus what's open for all the different clients at all the different locations. But if you want to reduce the amount of games that show up here, because right now you can see there's about 225 open games, you could change it and say, you know what, I live in Maple Valley and I just want to go to games that are near me. So I know Valor's the client that we serve in the Maple Valley area. So I can just put that as Valor, and then I can hit show. And look at that, they've got games posted the weekend of September 11th and 12th for any of you who are looking for games in the Maple Valley area. But you can change this amongst the different clients, or as many of you know, we have a lot of clients that have games at Starfire, and maybe I like to just do games at Starfire. Then I can put the Starfire complex in the location, show that, and look at that. We got some open games for you this coming weekend if you'd like to come out to the tournament. if I always want my games to show here as the Starfire complex, I can hit the save button, and lo and behold, every time I hit inquiry now, it's always going to come up and show me with the Starfire complex. So there's some of the functions of inquiry that may make this a little bit more useful to you for any of you who hadn't experimented a little bit about the inquiry screen. Any questions there so far? Hopefully some of you have recognized the what's new column. I try to put information in here about items that are coming up. So this is a great way to pick up on any type of news that's occurring.
Richard, do you increase rankings for high school referees who pass the fitness test but maybe aren't regional?
Yes. When you fill out your match reports, as you can see, when I logged in as a referee, I have 14 match reports that are outstanding. And if I just go in here and click, it will take me right to my match report. Also, if I haven't completed my misconduct reports, it's going to tell me that I need to have misconduct reports completed. I also can go in here to the misconduct report. Well, that wasn't very good. Hopefully I can go in here. Okay, there we go. So here's my misconduct reports. And so if I need to initiate a new misconduct report, as long as I have that match number, I can click on this prompt, put in the match number, and then I can enter in my misconduct report. Another nice thing about coming here and looking at your misconducts is you can see whether or not your misconducts are being upheld, especially on the youth game. So, you know, we take the time to issue the misconduct for behavior that is not within the laws of the game. And so we want to make sure that they're being upheld, because we don't want those same individuals accumulating a lot of cards, but yet not being punished for them by the leagues because we can't write misconduct reports. So this is a good place to look to see whether or not they're upheld. You'll see that for some of our clients, they're going to expire. So like, for example, I did one for, it looks like probably this was a friendly. And so it expired because there was no authority over the actual game itself. Or actually that's an ECNL game.
I was on that game. It was real.
And then I know some of us struggle in regards to, well, how should I write a misconduct report? So all of you probably learned in your referee class, or one of the referee classes, about how to write misconduct reports. And I think what the important part is, I'll talk about it later, but while we're here, I'm going to show you under the document tab, I actually have the file for cautionable and sending off offenses. And I just highly recommend that you use the actual language in this document to write your misconduct report. And I know that your upheld misconducts will hit a higher percentage than maybe they are today. So I think I've hit all the items I wanted to on RidgeStar. Does anybody have any other questions about RidgeStar? Okay, I'm gonna go to Arbiter. So Arbiter, that's where we do the assigning of high school games. If you are 16 years or older and are interested in doing high school games, make sure you send me an email after this meeting, because we're looking for high school officials. When I go over to Arbiter, or at least I hope I'm going to be able to, up will come my schedule. This is going to show me all the games I have coming up. If I want to put blocks on my schedule, I'm going to go to blocks, and then I can use all these nice little features here to block a part day or a whole day, or if I just want to view my schedule. So you'll see here, the dark reds are, I blocked that whole day out. The shaded red is I blocked partial day out, and the blue means I have a game that day. if you come in here and put your blocks on here, you're going to get less text messages from me of trying to get games covered when I'm looking for refs. So blocks is a nice thing to be able to go in and update. If you go back to your schedule, once you've completed your match report, I want to remind everybody that for high school in the spring, they went to the process where you need to fill out your match report the day of the game. So that way you get paid your full match fee and your ARs get paid their full match fee. If you wait and fill it out the next day, they take some money from your match fee and you're going to get paid less for the game. And I don't want us to get paid any less. You'll see here when I go into the schedule, I have a red R, which means that I need to complete my match report. And so then I can enter the score and be able to process, so they can process that payment for me. As you do your match reports for high school, you get paid for those games usually 24 to 48 hours after the game is there, after you've done your match report. And if I go back to my main page, you just need to make sure that you have your payment set up and actually set up arbiter pay. And I'm not seeing how you do that from here, but that's probably because I already have it set up. But in order to get paid for your high school matches, you need to get your arbiter pay set up. I think that's everything in regards to, oh, and then self-assign. If you go back to schedule and then click on the self-assign tab, it's pretty easy. And when you click on this, and some of you may go straight to the schedule. If you're part of multiple groups, you're going to get this one to ask you which one you'd like to go into. And if I hit search, it's going to come the available games. But the nice thing about that is that when you update your blocks, those blocks get taken into account when you have these games displayed to you. So if you're blocked on a Tuesday, the September 7th, then this game wouldn't have showed up as an available game for me to be able to self-assign to. So that will help you be able to get rid of the clutter of the amount of games to pick from based on when you're available. So that's the other nice feature in regards to updating your blocks. Any questions about arbiter?
Richard, do you only have till the end of September high school games on arbiter right now?
So how we post the games for high school on arbiter is it's a rolling 30 days. So every day. So tomorrow you'll probably be able to get games on October 1st, or at least through September 30th. So that's how games for South King County will show up on arbiter.
All right, thank you.
One of the questions was asked about how soon do they take money out for your arbiter fee. So to be a high school ref, it is $95 for the year. That's both for fall and spring. And then you also get the NASO membership, which will give you the insurance as well as the referee magazine, where you can see many Northwest referees pictured. And that money will come out of your game fees, and they'll take them out of the first games that you do.
Richard, it looks like Bruce Sugiyama has his hand raised. I don't know if he was just playing around or he has a question.
I got a question.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Bruce.
Okay,
Yep, we can hear you, Bruce.
so about the arbiter, the WOA central hub, I did most of it, but only one thing is still I couldn't do it, like a testing placeholder, what that stuff.
Bruce, send me an email, because then I can forward that email to Todd just to have him help fix it for us.
Okay. All right. That's all. Thank you.
'Cause it sounds like your habit, it might be just associated with your account.
Okay.
So I think Pierce County, Taylor Vance is the signer for Pierce County. They have a different group on here, but as you'll see, you can have multiple groups because I can go in and look at Pierce counties as well. If you need help, Jeff, getting in touch with Taylor, just let me know and I'll connect you. Okay. Let's go back to the PowerPoint because I don't hear any more questions about Arbiter. So let's go to misconducts. So based on some observations over the summer about misconducts, I wanted to help people be successful in the writing of their misconducts. And secondly, I want to make sure we're using misconducts or cautions appropriately. So a rule of thumb that I've heard that I think serves the game well, being both the referee and the participants, is that your second caution should be for something that's worse than the first caution. And I say this because I've seen where we have somebody who does a reckless tackle and then gets second caution for some pretty, I'd say not severe dissent. And so I think in that case, we should be trying to figure out other ways on handling that dissent as opposed to sending that player off the pitch because of getting a second caution. So if you think about it in the way of that, my second caution to a player should be worse than something of the first caution, that may help you skip some heartache from the players and spectators and coaches. I showed you already on the Ridgestar website where you can get to that paper that describes what how to write up your cautions and send off reports. Again, I encourage you to use the wording in that document, and I know you will have a lot higher upheld rate. And then your misconduct should always kind of address the who, what, when, where, how. When you don't include these items, then it's hard for the disciplinary committee to evaluate whether or not they should uphold the caution. So you want to talk about who the player was, what they did, when they did it during the match. Was it in the first minute? Was it in the 67th minute? Where did it occur on the pitch? And you know, when you do your report on Ridgestar, it actually kind of gives you some of the fields we have to complete. You have to input that information. And so when you're doing any type of misconducts outside of Ridgestar, these are the things you should be talking about. And then the how is where you're going to kind of get into that. Was it reckless? Was it excessive force, etc. So with that, does anybody have any questions in regards to misconducts? Okay, good. I'm hoping to see a lot more misconducts upheld in this coming fall season because everybody will know how to write them. So, you know, in this day and age, we always got to talk about COVID-19. And so really my conversation about COVID-19 is at this moment in time, I know of no restrictions around COVID-19 in soccer. Based on what's occurring with COVID-19, next week, we could have new restrictions that we'll have to follow. So I just encourage you as the season goes on, pay attention to what's being said in the news about restrictions, any proclamations from the president, the governor, the county executive, or whoever else can make rules in regards to what we have to do in regards to COVID-19. And then from there, we just need to roll with it. I encourage you, if you didn't get an electronic whistle, you may want to get an electronic whistle still. That way you have it ready to go in case we have to wear masks again. I'm hoping that's not where we go, but just what I say is let's be flexible and be prepared for whatever comes down. Any questions about COVID-19? Okay, let's talk a little bit about some of the different league rules or processes. I think it's always interesting when I get complaints from leagues about how we didn't apply their specific rules for their league the way they wanted. And beyond us should have knowing how to do it, I do remind them that when they all come up with their own rules, it just gives us an opportunity as refs to make another mistake for us to be able to mess up. But I'm going to try in these next few slides, give you guys the highlights of what some of the different rule nuances are for the different leagues. So what I'm going to hit for Washington Youth Soccer, they've been really trying to move to digital player cards. What I've also understand is that they now have putting the pictures on the rosters. I think the neat thing about the RCL league, at least, is that the managers have to print their rosters off of the software. And if a player has been red carded and has to sit out, their name will not appear on the roster. And you also will have a picture on the roster for each of the players. So their system seems to really give us a good straightforward on how it is that we should check those players in. If you've got pictures on the rosters, there's really no reason to ask for the digital player cards because you have everything you need to be able to check those players in. My understanding in regards to Washington Youth Soccer is that they should not be handwriting players in, but I think we all come across games where they want to handwrite players in. I always tell them that if they want to, I want to make sure that they've gotten the permission of the other coach to add that player's name on there, and then I make sure that that player's name is on all the copies of the rosters that are going to be shared with everybody. So that way, after the game, if somebody didn't like that player played, the league gets to figure it out, not us. I think I saw Art King on this webinar. Are you there, Art?
Yep, I'm here.
So Art, can you, because I know you're involved with like the recreational soccer. Can you tell us a little bit about what we might expect in regards to rosters for rec?
So for the SSUL, we're going to be using continue to use player cards and game day rosters. So it's very similar to the RCL. The difference would be we don't have pitchers integrated yet, but we're actually moving towards having the almost identical roster format to the RCL.
Perfect. I know that I saw Craig, I believe, join the webinar as well. For PSPL, they usually have those nice half sheets that they give us, and they then have player cards that are laminated, and then we use those player cards to check the players into the game. I don't know, Craig, if you have any other additional information about player cards and rosters for PSPL that you want to share?
I'll just say the same thing where if we're handwriting in additional names on the rosters, we want to make sure that they're on all the copies of the roster if possible.
Okay, great.
Hey, Richard.
Yeah.
Craig Thomas here. There's been times I've checked, especially with PSPL matches, I've checked in teams and I'll do a U16 game or a U15 game and the pictures on the card will be like a 10-year-old. Is there any type of league rule about that, how new the pictures should be or how old the picture should be?
You just need to download the app that will take that picture and fast forward it for 10 years for you. So then you'll know whether or not that picture is accurate for the player that's in front of you. You bring up a great point. I think that if you've got a player card, it's got a picture on it, and even if the picture's 10 years old, you know, that's something that if somebody else wants to make an issue of it, I'd let them do it. As long as the player has a number that coincides what's on the roster, I'm good to go.
Yeah, okay. It just seems to be a headache because you always rather have the opposing manager and coach complaining about that. And then they
And
want
then they
us to
should-
deal with it and
They
get
should
people
go
off
to the
thing.
league. Nope, they should
That's
just
what I
go to
tell
the
them.
league. Yep. Say you should take that up with the league. I have a player card that has a picture.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, let's talk a little bit about ECNL. So U14s actually play a 40-minute half instead of a 35. Make sure that you're completing the ECNL rosters and providing those back to the managers. This is the biggest complaint I got last year from a couple of our clients, is that our referees weren't completing the rosters and handing them back to the managers. And I know that sometimes the managers can't be found, so find a coach or a player to give it to. But whatever we do, fill out the roster and give it back to a team representative so that way they have the information they need. And for those of you who really want to challenge yourself, make sure you get the person who had the assist to the goal so you can document that on their player sheet as well. You'll probably get bonus points from the manager. There's no re-entry in the halves once the players have left the field. So I'm going to say an easy way to do this is that when you start the game, collect the 11 cards of the players that are on the field. And as the subs come on, take that player's card. So if you have a player that comes up to the halfway line to get in the game and they have no card, then they probably shouldn't be subbing. And then at halftime, hand the coaches back all the cards and have them give you the 11 cards to start the second half. And that's a nice, easy way to keep track of that. ECNL does have a head injury substitution procedure where that if a player with a head injury is subbed off and the healthcare provider that is there clears them to come back on, if they come back on for the player that subbed them, you got to find that player's card in your pocket and hand it back to them because they still have a substitution opportunity. And I have added the guidelines for ECNL on the website, so I encourage you to go take a look at those so that you're familiar with the ECNL game day procedures. Anybody have any questions or comments in regards to ECNL nuances?
Sorry, Richard, I had teams that prefer just to take a photo of the game sheets. Is that okay?
So after you filled them out, the manager just wanted to take a photo of the game sheet?
Yeah.
Yep, I think you're good at that point. Nick, the ECNL guidelines that I just posted on there today is off of their current website. And I actually pointed in the document on the RidgeStar site that I put in the information section. It will take you to the link on ECNL's website. So if they make any changes, hopefully they don't change the URL. Okay, I think we're good on ECNL. Okay, mod soccer, which I know is the most favorite level of play for most of the referees on this webinar, but this is always an important piece to cover. Remember, we have mod soccer rule nuances for U8 and below, the U9 through 11, and then U12. So I think the biggest pieces is in regards to the number of players that you can have on the field. U11 and below can't head the ball, and if they deliberately head the ball, then you need to make sure that you restart with a indirect free kick. And then we have everybody's favorite line on the field, which is the build out line. And so for the build out line, I know for at least for Washington Youth Soccer, offsides does not start until after the build out line. So they can still be offsides between the halfway line and the build out line. But once they go past the build out line, then they can be offsides. Craig, can you remind me on how that works in regards to PSPL? Did they adopt the same rules as Washington Youth Soccer? So Craig either left us or doesn't remember, but I think that's the way PSPL finally did it as well. And then there is no, for U11 and below, remember there's no, the goalkeeper can't punt or drop kick the ball. And that when the ball is played out of the back, I know everybody gets all hung up on when is the ball live again. So I always take people back to what's the spirit of this rule change. And the spirit of this rule change is to allow the defending team to play the ball out of the back without it being crammed back down their throat again in any way. So if you've got players that go past the build out line and after the goalkeeper takes the goal kick, they run and are able to get to the ball first, I would say that is a legal play because they were past the build out line. If you have a player who didn't make it past the build out line and the goalie kicks it to the defender and that attacker goes and crams the ball down the defender's throat, I would retake that goal kick because that is not in the spirit of the rule modification. And then U12, for the most part, their law nuances is just really about having a lower number of players and a smaller field. Anybody have any questions, comments about mod soccer? Okay. On to the high school rule nuances. So I know that not everybody here does high school, but you're going to find that these pieces I'm going to cover will really, I will bring it home to you for all the different leagues that you officiate for, because just like these rule nuances that the high school has highlighted, these are the areas where we get ourselves into trouble on our games, whether it be a mod game, a high school game, or an adult game. So these are the items that I'm going to cover today. So pregame, make sure we're doing a field inspection so we know and can identify any problems in regards to the goals being secure, holes in the nets, making sure we don't have a gaping hole at the top of the goalpost, and that we have corner flags. Again, we can reach out to the home team to get these items corrected, but I don't want to hear about us not playing a soccer game because corner flags could not be located. In high school, we do collect rosters. They usually give us a copy of the handout that they're providing to the spectators, but at least we have a roster and we don't need to do a formal check-in like we do our other leagues. In our adult leagues, I strongly encourage everybody who does adult games that when they have player cards, that you're collecting those player cards, because those player cards mean something to them because that's how they get to play in their next game. And if you don't have those player cards, you don't have anything that they want at the end of the game, and their behavior seems to not be as good on the pitch when you don't have something that they want back. Let's see, in high school, the home team gets to wear dark jerseys now, and the visiting team wears white jerseys. I'll just tell you, I think we've all been to the grocery store lately or any other store, and I think we all know that the supply chain is really messed up. And it's also really messed up in regards to getting jerseys and uniforms. So we've had lots of schools reach out to us and wanting to make sure that we're not going to stop a game from occurring because one team is wearing white t-shirts from Target because that's all that they could get in order to be able to have the same color jersey top. So please, we need to be lenient here and make sure that we're playing our games. During our pregame, let's make sure that we've reached out to identify who the trainer is, and probably we might want to know who the responsible adult is at the venue in regards to any issues that may arise. Each home game needs to have a designated, it's usually the athletic director, supposedly, often probably the coach of the home team. But at least we need to know, in case we have anything crop up during the match, who it is that's in charge of the field management. And then the benches can use electronic devices as long as they're not using those electronic devices to communicate with players on the field. Questions or comments so far?
Hey, Richard, this is Art. I'd say the jersey issue is also going to be something that's going to come up in a lot of recreational leagues. Most clubs are getting they're getting estimates, even though they ordered something at the beginning of August, they're getting their jerseys in some cases mid-September. So we should provide the same kind of courtesy. They may not have numbers, they probably have pennies, and that'd be very common to see, especially in the recreational ones.
Thank you, Art. And if the jerseys don't have numbers, referees, as we give misconducts, we can always ask the players for their names at that time. Just remember to make sure we're asking for that name as we're given the misconduct. Okay. So lightning, that can happen to any of us, but for whatever reason seems to happen more often on high school games than any other games. Lightning is thunder that's heard or a cloud to ground lightning bolt that is seen. You need to suspend play and take shelter. Please don't continue to stand out in the middle of the field. And then you have to wait 30 minutes until after the last thunder is heard or the flash of lightning is witnessed. In order to have a complete high school game, you only have to have completed the first half. Anytime if the visiting and or home team wants to decide that they don't want to wait any longer to try to get 30 minutes between the lightning and thunder, they then can decide to call the game. Again, you can advise them if they ask that, a complete game is the first half being completed of the 40 minutes, and that they can then reschedule that game if they didn't have a complete game at a later time. And I think we've even had instances where games have already been in the second half and they've still rescheduled that game. And they usually they can restart the game from the beginning, or they'll restart the game at the minute in which the game was ended. So you may want to take note of where the game ended. But otherwise, anybody have any questions about lightning? Okay. So number of players, remember in high school, and I think pretty much all of our leagues except for ECNL, substitutions are unlimited. We do have the concussion rule. Luckily in high school, we have usually a healthcare professional that can evaluate the player and can allow them to come back on the field if they pass that evaluation. So don't underutilize that as an option. And then if blood is on the uniforms, as we know in any of our games, the player needs to leave the field and get that cleaned up. The player's equipment, we all know we're not supposed to have jewelry on the players. In high school, they've really put this into responsibility of the head coach. So, if you see jewelry on when you're doing your pre-game field inspection, don't hesitate to address it with the players you see the jewelry with, or maybe reminding the coach to make sure he or she gets the jewelry off. But if necessary, according to the rules for high school, you do give the first caution to the coach for not having players being properly equipped. And then after that, you would give it to whichever players. I don't advise using this caution as the caution that you're going to give to a coach or to other players, because the game probably is not going to go as smooth as it could have. I think it can easily be addressed, and WOA is not hounding us in regards to if we're giving cautions for this or not, but getting the player off the field so they can fix their equipment usually handles the situation perfectly, which is another good way to handle it when you are on your youth or adult games. Any questions there? Okay. As we all know.
We got a question from Vasily.
Yep.
Yeah, about the jewelry situation, I would like to check that, because I had the issue many times with the players that I asked them to take off the jewelries, and they said, "Oh, can we tape it?" And we put tape on the rings because it's wedding rings, or on the earrings and all that kind of stuff. So, as a referee, as Vasilis, whenever I play, I just let them know to take everything off, no tape, no wedding rings or whatever it's related with jewelries. Is that something that we have to do? Because I've been as a AR, and other referees, they handle different ways the jewelry situation, and I saw them that allow them to have tape or that kind of solutions, and allow them to play on the game. And then as soon as we came to the situation that the player have the jewelries and really want them to take off, they start complaining. So, and I'm talking about in general games, to all the games, adult games, high school games, whenever we played.
Yep. So definitely in the laws of the game, it says that you can have no jewelry. So I think that if you see jewelry, then it needs to be removed. I don't think in the laws of the game it says that you can't tape jewelry, because at that point I can't see jewelry. But that's usually something that probably should be done before I see it, because once I see it, I now know that you put tape over it, that's jewelry that you are now hiding. I know that most people don't wear tape on their ears, but it seems to be more of a fad in soccer players, especially teenage girls. So again, the importance is that the equipment is safe. And as long as that appears to be safe, then I'm not sure that's going to be what I start a argument with in regards to the game. Vasilius, does that help at all or not? Okay.
Richard, can I help you here?
Yeah, you can, Dave.
Okay, so there's a lot of, appreciate everybody that's on this call. This is Augustavo. I think when you have jewelry in high school, I don't think it's the same as adults. And I do agree that, yeah, the laws are the laws are the laws, and I'm going to go with all of that. I think you can help yourself in high school. If you're walking around, they come out in a varsity game and fist you, the introduction, all that, you can say something, then you can ask the coach. If you see somebody that's got jewelry, just sub them out of the game, or just say, please go take that off. And I think that helps you. The coach will support it. If they don't, then start carding people. But I think you give them a little bit of wiggle room there. These are high school people. I'm talking about the high school girls. But I would like that to be dealt with with empathy as opposed to nastiness. Save your cards for things that are keeping the game safe. Bad soccer. I would work toward that. But if somebody decides they want to do something, I'm not getting in a piddling contest with you for that. I just think there's a nicer way to make a game work, and you can take your personality into that.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. So the duration of the match, high school is 2 40-minute halves. As we all know, youth ages have all kinds of different halves lengths, so you need to know those for your games. Middle schools usually 2 30-minute halves. Some of them do 15-minute quarters. If both coaches agree to shorten the halves before the game, then that works as well. If there's a field site clock on site, they will stop that clock at 2 minutes, and it is your responsibility to track the rest of the time, as well as stoppage time. I encourage you to communicate stoppage time proactively, and not box yourself into a corner in regards to stoppage time. So a nice way to say it is, coaches, we at least have 2 minutes of stoppage time so far. The halftime is 10 minutes, and in playoffs, if you have tied games, it's 2 golden goal 5-minute halves and then kicks from the mark. And then there are some leagues that have a golden goal option during league play. I think our only school that does that is Liberty right now. Otherwise, the rest of them can end in a tie. I don't know, did Ryan join us?
Yep, I'm here.
Did I say that right, that Liberty is the only one we have?
Liberty is the only one we know about right now. I got to double check on a couple of the smaller private schools, but
Okay.
The B schools, they go straight from the game to kicks.
Okay.
yeah, I'll double check that because they change them every year. So
Yeah.
Also confirm that stuff with the coaches before the game. Like
Yes.
I think in Kinko, in their counting Kinko games, they go 80 becomes 90. It's non-golden goal because it was a point of contention in their coaches meeting. So it's good to confirm with the coaches before the game what their overtime rules are.
Yep.
Fouls and misconduct. So cautions, the player who gets cautioned needs to leave the field of play, and except for the goalkeeper. That player, if they are not substituted, cannot come back on until the next legal substitution opportunity. So it's not like an injury where you can wave them back on during the run of play. It actually needs to be a legal substitution opportunity in order for them to come back on. On send-offs, the player or substituted player can remain in the team area. If you send a coach or adult personnel, they need to leave the vicinity. And just want to remind us that we do show the yellow and red card to the coach and personnel if we are issuing them. And that gets me into a conversation in regards to the use of cards with coaches and spectators. This is another area that as officials, we continue to create more work for ourselves than what's probably necessary. And I say that in the fashion of that we have tools that we're given by the laws of the game, being the yellow and red card. And I encourage us, when we are dealing with spectator and coaches misconduct, that we are utilizing the yellow card first, and then the red card. When we jump straight to red card, I know you've gotten rid of your problem that is on that bench, but you just created probably another 15 problems for you because they're not happy that you just sent their coach and they're not sure why it is that you sent them, especially in your older ages games and adult games. And so by issuing the yellow card first for coaches and or spectator misconduct, you're giving a warning. Everybody's seen that the warning's been given, and it usually will resolve your problem, probably 80 to 90% of the time. And then if the behavior continues and you show the second yellow card, most of the people at the event are going to say, well, he should have or she should have learned from the first caution to have kept their mouth shut, or, you know, they should have taken care of that spectator instead of letting that spectator continue to cause problems. So with this, I encourage all of us to be making sure we're using those tools that were provided by first showing the yellow card and then the red card. I say that in using that with coaches and for spectator misbehavior, as referees, we do not have jurisdiction over spectators. So our only avenue to address spectator misconduct is through the coach. And I think you will find it very effective by going to the coach and saying, hey, the guy in the red ball cap on the end of that touch line needs to modify their behavior and stop yelling at my AR, or I'm going to have to come back and give you a caution for his behavior. And I'm pretty sure either that guy in the red cap will be picking up his phone from the call from the coach, or someone will be going over there to talk to the guy in the red cap to take care of the problem. Any questions or comments about fouls and misconducts? Okay, we've talked about misconducts in regards to writing those up. And I think it's important that we write those up because there are consequences for individuals when they accumulate misconducts. For high school, when you get a second caution, and so then you're ejected from that game, that player only sits out for the rest of that game. When it's for violent conduct, which means that we have an off the ball situation that is violent, it results in a suspension of 20% of the games played for that player. So when a player punches another player, that's going to be violent conduct, and they're going to get suspended for 20% of the games. When a player commits serious foul play, that's going to be a 1-game suspension on top of the game that they had to sit the rest of the match out for. We don't want to be writing up our serious foul plays as violent conduct because the consequences are much more severe. Any questions about misconduct consequences? Okay. That was the high school rules overview. Any questions about that? Okay, at this point, I want to turn it over to Wayne Jackson, who has a coach's perspective that he's put together from one of the webinars that the SRC sponsored in the last year. So Wayne, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I need you to quit sharing your screen, if you will.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out now.
I might be able to kill you.
There you go.
I killed
you were
you.
able to kill me.
Okay. Good evening. Like Richard said, we put together a bunch of webinars when we were in COVID last year. And one of the more interesting ones is we had a panel of coaches that commented, that participated in this panel. This panel was moderated by Ray and includes people from PAC Northwest and some other people that you may know from the college ranks, and Casey Keller from the Sounders. So I'm going to go ahead and show this. I just got a 5-minute clip here for you. And the genesis of this is what coaches are looking for in soccer referees. So let's see if I can share my screen here. And there we go. Everybody see that? I'm going to go ahead and start.
Day long, but I think we want to listen to you guys. So one of the first questions that I would like to ask, and I have a bunch of them, we probably won't get to all of them, because sometimes when you ask one question, that may be enough. What are you guys looking for when you in a referee at your games?
Perfection.
Why, of course.
No, I'll start. You know, I really want to start by saying thanks, Ray, for inviting me and the other panelists. I know all the other people here, and you've chosen wisely. Maybe not with me, but with them. I think that the thing that stands out from the best referees that I've experienced is a degree of humility that we all acknowledge as we enter a game, even if you're wound up tight as a drum and you're one of those guys that badgers a ref. There's still the acknowledgement that there's going to be errors made, errors by the coaches, the players, the officials, and having the humility to kind of own the mistakes when they happen. I think that's, for me, the first thing that I would ask for in a ref, perfection notwithstanding, because everything else comes from there. All the communication that you can have, which is, I think, also important, all the other stuff comes from someone being humble enough to be able to hold their hand up when things don't go right. Pete, how about you?
Thanks. Yeah, that's the exact same word that I had. We have a new president coming into Seattle U. He starts in July. He's the dean of the law school at Cornell, and they asked, what does a leader need? And he said one word, and it's humility. And I think that Wade's right. It sets the tone when a ref comes in that way. It's really, the best referees are kind of like the best conductors. You don't see them. And then after the game, you say, man, that guy did a good job, because you didn't see him or her. And so I'm with Wade on that. Humility, I think, and I think, like Wade said it very well, if a referee makes a mistake, we're going to have a very critical eye, all coaches do, when they can say, I missed it. And then most coaches that I know, if a referee says they missed it, they'll throw it away. They might keep the score in the back of their head that they missed one, but I think the humility piece is very, very important. Malia?
Yeah, trying to just kind of piggyback. I really like the explanation Wade and Pete gave. The thing that comes to mind is just, we're all there to have a good game, to let the players enjoy the game. And so when I feel like the ref is like on our team, we're on we want the same objective, to have a good game, things go well. And that's, on a big foul, it's being willing to take the second to come tell the coach what it is, or, not just ignore a coach in a big moment, because I think that fires a lot of people up and can make things escalate. And really, it's just the tone. And I like the word humility. I think when referees come and when we feel like we're on the same side, things tend to go better, I feel like.
Casey?
See, I see kind of refereeing similar to the way I kind of approach broadcasting. Is you're not tuning in to see me as the broadcaster. You're not tuning in to see the referee. You're tuning in to see the players. And that kind of piggybacks on that humility side, is to understand that I don't get paid by the word. The referee doesn't get paid by the foul. If we can help the fan, and then maybe on the amateur level, just the player, the spectators, the coaching staff, to enjoy themselves, because that's the focus, not the referee, not the broadcaster. And then for me, what it comes down to after that fact is just consistency. Is I want to know that if the referee comes to the coaches before the game, says, hey, look, I'll let some things go, and it's even on both sides, or he says, look, she says, I'm going to call this game really strict. These are the things that I'm going to call strict. And if it's equal on both teams, everybody knows the guidelines and how it's set out, then nobody can really complain about it. And I think it's those inconsistencies and that idea that the referee wants to be the center of attention is what really can kind of drive players, coaches, and fans crazy.
Okay, Richard, it's back to you.
Perfect. Well, Wayne, I appreciate you sharing that with us. I hope everybody kind of got a different perspective on how coaches look at the game and look at us as part of that game and how we're an important part of the game, but yet they see that we have a lot of power over the game. I think sometimes we all get caught up in, we just get yelled at by coaches and they're just mad about that particular foul at that moment in time, but there really is a bigger picture probably there, or hopefully there. Okay, I'm gonna try to share my screen again. There we go. So I think that everybody here knows, especially at the high school level, we really try to work as serving the high school game across the whole state. And I think an important person that makes that successful for us is Dave Augustavo. And if you haven't met Dave yet, you know, I only hope that you do get the opportunity to meet Dave. But Dave kind of does soccer in the high school world north of the South King County area. And then in the past, we've actually had a change in Pierce County. So the south of the South King County area is now assigned by Taylor Vance. I think that between these three different associations, we have referees that may live in South King County, but they may work in Pierce County, and doing games, high school games in Pierce County, because they're usually after work, may be easier for an official than it is for them to try to find their way through traffic to get to South King County to be able to officiate a high school game. And so all of our associations want to get high school officials onto the right groups in Arbiter, so that way you can participate in the high school arena and do games where it's most convenient for you, because I think everybody knows we have more games than we have officials. And I think this is beyond just high school. I think lots of people do games for Pierce County. I know lots of officials helped with the Gig Harbor tournament this summer. And I know that we get a lot of officials from the Seattle area that come down and do our Starfire tournaments. And so I encourage you as officials that if you're on just the NSO website or just the NSO group on Arbiter, you need to branch out a little bit and help referee become part of your life and how it best fits in. And where you're able to do games and not necessarily just do games for one particular association. So Dave always has words of wisdom in regards to how you can make your games go easier. Dave, before you start with that, I do want you, if you would talk about the other league that you do assign, because there's a lot of referees probably on this webinar today that at some point in their life may want to take their referee career higher than I was ever able to. And you're kind of that way to be able to get them into that arena and get seen that stepping stone to pro potentially. So if you talk a little bit about that, that would be great too, Dave.
So 1 second, I've got a youngster that just entered my room. I got to move her out. So give me,
okay, that's cool.
Richard, talk 10 seconds with folks about social media.
About social media
about
and
people and the danger they can get into with that.
Yeah, so definitely social media is an arena that you can get yourself in a lot of trouble with. And for those of you who don't know, I actually work for Evergreen Health. I'm their compliance officer, and I'm amazed on the amount of complaints I get from citizens about how some of our staff had post things on social media that they find appealing. I'm sorry, not appealing, appalling, even though they don't use patient information. And I think that I just relate that to this in regards to your referee career. Be careful what you're posting on social media and keeping it in the positive realm as opposed to a negative realm that can be seen as not team building. Is that what you're hoping for, Dave?
That's perfect. So I had in putting things in perspective in this world, I have a daughter and a son-in-law and 2 little grandkids here that are living with us at the moment. Their house that they own is in South Lake Tahoe, which if you're paying attention to the news is very likely to get torched. So it's from a standpoint of like putting everything in perspective. Social media, be careful. You used a lot of words, Richard. Normally it's me that uses a lot of words. Item 2, I'll hit the pro assigner. Is that what it's called, Wayne?
Yep.
Okay, so the pro assigner is Dave Augustavo. Me. That thing kind of got rocked when they changed the DA world, and now it's kind of fragmented. I know there's Sounder guys 15 and 17, so those and some other games. Josh Wilkins, our FIFA futsal guy, is right in the middle of that stuff with me. When I went down to your fitness clinic yesterday, he was asking me a lot of questions and asking me to get a lot of information. So those that want to ref at a higher level, it's probably pretty good to know myself. But that's nice of you to say that, Richard. I want to talk about high school and how you can be a better ref. And I talked a little bit earlier in high school about, I'm not as comfortable speaking on this as I am face to face. I like the entertainment stuff. And I back up a small step. I want to say thank you to all of you. I went to 8 different tournament venues in the summer, from Burlington to 60 Acres to Stalker to Starfire. Those that assigned it and those that officiated, you are absolutely studs. The amount of effort put forth to try to get these games covered, incredible, very impressive. And thanks a lot to all of you. Now we go into high school. And I think at high school, we've got to be, all of us were in high school. The coaches get paid $5 grand. It might be 4, it might be 6. Not near what the select coaches get paid. It's different in that most of the games are played at night. The varsity games are played at night. Because you can do an ECNL 15 boys game does not mean you can do a high school varsity middle. But we still need you, and we don't mind giving you an opportunity. How to be a good ref, how to be a good ref, how to be a great ref. Number 1, you listen to Casey Keller and Pete Fewing and the other 2. Humility. I think you got to be yourself. I think you have to have a brand, you have to have a personality, and some people are afraid to have a personality. You can sit and you can mock and go, oh my God, great. What's your brand and what do you stand for? And then how do you get that? Well, you got to experiment. You got to get out there. And I think it starts with a genuine smile. I think it starts with being yourself. I think it starts with being positive. I think it starts with acting like you want to be there. And then if that doesn't work for you, then I think you've got to start modifying things. And there's a lot of people that want to help you get better. And I'm at the front of that line. I know Richard does it. Craig Allen does it. A lot of folks on this call, Jeremy, Ryan, Vern Winters, Leslie Compton, all these folks, they all want you to be better. And the cool thing about now compared to yesteryear, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, is Richard, myself, Taylor Vance, all of us want the same thing. We all want our games covered. It makes good sense for the referees that live in King County to be on both WA Soccer Refs, which is my 108 410 group with Arms and Wilkins helping, along with Richards, along with anywhere in the state that you want to do high school. We want to connect you. You don't have to pay any extra. You already paid your $95 for the magazine and insurance. Your rankings are probably going to be similar. I might take more risk with you because I have more screws loose in my head. You get paid the same way. You can put together teams with your buddies, meaning the 3 of us want to come up and do a game. Some, I don't know, the group we have, Skagit, Wesco, Kinko, Metro, the Emerald City League, Vashon, Bellevue Christian. We have a lot of games. I think my particular group is about a third of the state. So that's a lot of soccer, and we want to use you. We want everybody to feel like, hey, take that attitude of going out there, meeting new referees, not just the ones within 3 miles of my house because it's convenient, but get out there, drive, meet new coaches, take a little risk of being yourself. And I think you'll be surprised at how much you grow and how much all of us will find a home for you on better games. Richard, what else am I missing?
Do you want to talk about maybe a little bit about how high school girls season is different than boys high school season? Since we got done last doing boys.
Okay. And so for those that don't know and say, okay, boys, girls, is this guy going to go? What direction is this guy going to go? I come from 5 brothers. I've got 5 daughters. I have 7 granddaughters. There's some grandsons too. So the boys game is different than the girls game. I wish it wasn't. I am blown away by how successful our female refs are in reffing girls high school. If Caitlin's on the call, I think she is. There's some other ladies on this. I am amazed at how well you do. What do I learn from that? I'm more wired for the guys game. In a girls game, it seems like the minute I open my mouth, I lose. And don't underestimate that last comment. And that is, I think you just, to a 17-year-old girl, 25 is old. I'm 62. I don't have a thing to say to a high school girl. They ask me a question, I give them an answer, they get the last word, we're done. Coaches, relationships, it's a different game. And I think you'll have a lot more success with a smile, blowing your whistle, understanding the score, keeping the game safe, and keeping quiet. Is that what you mean, Richard? Okay. I don't have anything to add to that. What other questions or thoughts would come up? Absolutely love high school. It's a cool time in people's lives.
This is your chance to be able to ask Dave questions if you guys have questions. Okay. Hey, Brandon, I appreciate your comment in the chat section. I don't know if everybody got to see it, but I think that's really well stated, but now I can't, it's moving on me.
I can't see the chat section. People can toast me and
I can read it, Richard.
Yeah, I'll let you do it, Jeremy.
I think it's important for referees to remember that sometimes coaches or players aren't yelling at you because they are mad at you in particular, but they just want to be heard. Sometimes letting somebody be heard will end the problem.
And I think another way I've heard that worded is that the spectators or players or coaches are yelling at the uniform, not the person that's in the uniform. And I think sometimes if we can step back and try to use these different perspectives to not be attached emotionally of a personal attack, it may make your games go a little bit easier. So I appreciate you all hanging on so far. I
have a quick question for Dave, if he's still on.
Yep.
Dave, is CYO happening in the fall?
Yes, it is. I'm going to pay you for that comment. The Catholic world, near and dear to me. We assign that, you don't get travel pay on it. You get paid at the end of the year. So it's kind of like a cool build up, like maybe working a job. But the CYO world starts, it's Saturday mornings. It's starts on the 11th of September and runs up till the end of October. And it's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Maybe you get 38, 40, 45, that kind of thing for the games, but it's a near and dear, and it's not for everybody, but thanks for asking.
And Jacqueline, I know I owe you a email response in your other question you sent me last week. It is in my email box to respond, but shoot me another email that if you're interested in doing the high school officiating, and I'll get you connected there. Like I said, anybody who's 16 or older and has the interest, if you want to do high school, please reach out to me and we'll get you set up. So one of the things
Richard?
that I've been, did someone
Can I ask you a question, Richard?
Go ahead, Dave.
So the site, if you're not on, if you're one of my people and you're not on the NSO site, or you're one of Richard's and you're not on the WASOC refs, I mean, if we have lots of games at Starfire and that sort of thing, please connect with Richard and get connected to us. I think it'll help you. It's just one more thing on your arbiter, one more button down on your arbiter thing, but you'll find it in we do almost all self-assigned.
And that's a good point, Dave. Dave has a lot of high school schools that play their games at Starfire. So you will be able to, for those of you that do games at Starfire, if you want more games there, Dave does have more in his group.
Snoqualmie and Mount Si. It's just right next door to everything you've got. West Seattle. I mean, not everybody, I can't get to West Seattle from Shoreline. So we're like, goofy to say it, but we need your bodies, Richard, out in the Metro games in West Seattle at, Chief Self and wherever else they play out there. So, but thanks.
Yeah. So I just got a few more slides here, and I'll let you all go and enjoy the rest of your evening and probably learn something more important than we've covered in the last hour and a half. But I know some of you have seen this slide before. I just always try to reground us in regards to what we can do to be successful on the pitch. We have referees that go through a class. We teach you about the laws of the game, hopefully some positioning so you know where to stand to call offside. But we never get to the part where how do you survive this profession? Because this profession is not an easy one. Our job is to enforce the laws of the game, and not everybody likes the laws of the game, or not everybody knows the current laws of the game. So I always like to think about each soccer game as that I am the CEO of that match. It's my responsibility to make sure that it gets up off the ground. We play the game. My customers are happy. And my customers can be anything from the coaches, the players, or the spectators. I'll tell you, the spectators are the paying customers for at least for the youth clubs. And they sometimes seem to have a little bit louder voice because they're paying a lot of money to have their kids out there on the pitch. And although you may at that moment in time be interfering with their child's success because you've called a foul against them, they may really be upset because that's the only 5 minutes of playing time that they got, and they're really mad at the coach because their child only got 5 minutes of playing time. We have clients, and our clients are like Pac Northwest, Dollar Soccer, the high school schools. Wherever we are doing our games, there's a client that's helping us to arrange those matches. And we need to make sure that we are facilitating their games and getting coverage. When we don't get coverage on games, then that can hurt them in regards to attracting more customers. We're responsible for making sure that we're able to exercise and carry out the enforcement of the laws of the game. And I think that there's about 58 people left on this webinar tonight. And I think all of us have varying degrees of personalities and comfort zones. Some of us are probably more extroverted than others. And on the soccer pitch, we may have to figure out what is our personality so we can carry off and convey confidence in our decisions by knowing the laws of the game inside and out, but maybe being have the appearance of a more extroverted person than an introverted person that we truly are. So sometimes, as many of you have said, heard me say in the past, you may have to figure out how you use your acting skills in order to be able to carry off the role of referee. And I think one of the pieces that may get overlooked at times is we're also the safety officer. Our job is to make sure that those 30 players that are in our hands for those up to 90 minutes all walk off the field and have been safe, that we're creating an environment where we enforce the laws of the game with the tools that we are provided with the least amount of injuries. So those are just some thoughts of how you may want to think about your game as you're riding in the car on the way there, of how you're going to fulfill these 5 different roles to make sure you have success on the pitch. In trolling through the evaluations, I've started to notice some trends that I think we have more control of that could result in better outcomes. It's amazing to me that how much every word we say on the pitch, there are people who are listening and may not always take what we're saying the way in which it is meant. I also want to remind us that oftentimes we have adults on pitches, and we have minors as the participants. And I have noticed a trend in we have parents who, in my opinion, may be a little bit thinner skinned in regards to comments that are made that maybe people could have gotten away with in times past. But I share this with you so that maybe next time, out of anger or frustration, you making a comment that maybe you don't want to, that you may want to take back, think about what you're saying. A couple of times I've heard lately us making comments, referees making comments that in a boys game that, you know, these aren't girls, they need to toughen up. We had recently a call be made, and then the call probably wasn't the way that it actually was, and we're telling the parents that's because of you that I called it that way. So I know sometimes we are doing a lot of games to help get games covered, but we got to figure out how do we walk off one pitch and the frustrations we may have felt in that game and not carry it to the next pitch. And so that way, the new customer that we're serving on that game is getting a quality game by that official and not the official that is tired out from the previous game. So just some food for thought there for everyone. In regards to games and what you can do to improve your rankings, getting the games that you want, it's always important. You know, your appearance, how you're showing up to the game, how you wear your uniform, how professional you are, and how you handle those stressful or frustrating situations. Your fitness, when you walk onto a pitch and you have the appearance of being fit, that's going to help you in your match. Your schedule on Arbiter, make sure you're updating your blocks, and when you're available, I encourage you to seize the opportunities that you're given. If you're wanting more challenging games, make sure you're hitting that request button on the games that you may not be able to self-assign to, because those opportunities will be given to those that show interest and have done the things to be able to step up to that next challenge of officiating. Continuing education. So here are 3 places that you can go to get additional information at the pro level. These sites actually do video analysis of the MLS games. I know we're not officiating MLS games, but I think in some of these video clips that they go through, It's going to help you be able to better interpret the laws of the game and how to apply them, and may help you be able to be a better official in a quicker amount of time. So hopefully maybe when we get to 2022, things may get back to a little bit normal routine. And I always like to help people think about what it is that's coming down the pike and how do I advance my referee career? Because if we're not sharing that information with you, and I encourage you to share this information with your fellow referees as people ask questions, we all get better as we all improve our knowledge of the game, and as we're all pushing ourselves to more challenging games to keep us intellectually engaged. I appreciate all of us who often do games that may be a game that doesn't require our knowledge or expertise, but it needs to get covered. U10 players deserve to get a referee just as much as a U19 game. So hopefully in the spring, we're going to have a pro clinic that usually happens the first week of March. Usually anybody who's an advanced grassroots referee or above is invited to the pro clinic. I hope to be able to get us an advanced grassroots referee clinic here between now and then. So for those of you who are trying to go to that step, we'll have that opportunity. Every time I think COVID is going to get better, it just gets worse. And usually these classes we kind of do in a classroom setting. We did do the fitness test this last weekend. As I said earlier, we'll hopefully do one again in October. There'll be one in November in the Tri-Cities. And then hopefully we'll have a fitness test at the Pro Clinic at the beginning of March. And then with fingers crossed, we'll have the RDA, the Regional Development Academy at Central Washington University in Ellensburg, the last weekend of July. And that's another opportunity to be able to do the fitness test as well as meet referees across the state and learn some great education about officiating and making us better people. In regards to state cups, if you are interested in getting into the arena of having the opportunity to go to regionals, that's where you get to go and officiate the regional games where each state sends their top team for each of the different age levels and compete to be able to get that seed to nationals. Where you start with all of that is by going and doing the Founders Cup in December, which is the Rec Cup for Washington State. D. White will send out an email, probably October, November, that will come from the SRC and say, please let me know if you're interested in doing the Founders Cup. And for any of you who have those aspirations, I strongly encourage you to go and participate in that cup. It happens the first or second weekend of December, I believe. But that is really how you get your foot into the state cup process, which I think is fantastic for anybody who wants to advance their referee career. You go and do a couple of games, you'll get mentored on all your games and be given real-time feedback beyond just the group of us that do it here in the Northwest Soccer Officials Group. And then, of course, as we wind down this coming weekend of Labor Day Cup tournament at Starfire, we still have the one that will happen over Thanksgiving. And it's never too early to start to advocate for people to be ready to do the Winter Classic for Pac Northwest, because as you all know, it is a very big tournament that happens the second and third weekend of January. And everybody needs to get their 2022 registration done in order to officiate at that tournament. Any questions about what's next? So I've kind of talked in regards to the progression of referees from grassroots to advanced grassroots and then to regional referee. I encourage you that if you go look, if you're interested in this progression, the SRC website has on on there a page that outlines what the requirements are for each of these different levels. No matter how many times all of you ask me what it takes to become a regional referee, it isn't what it was when I did it, which I can actually still remember. And every year USSF changes it. And so the SRC also changes the requirements. So the best place to go look is on the SRC website. Just a reminder, as we get started with the fall season, it's important that as the referees, we're getting our game started on time. That way we keep the fields on time. When we don't get games started on time, I know you may have the 9 o'clock game, but we don't need the 4 o'clock game starting at 5 o'clock. And we need to make sure that we're making our quick halftime, getting the second half started on time. And if we need to shorten halves, let's be proactive at the 9 o'clock game, because the first team didn't show up till 9:15, and we should be shortening the game by 15 minutes, because it's not fair to the 11 o'clock game that they don't get started on time because the first game didn't have a team there on time. And when you're selecting games, make sure you're giving yourself enough time between games, especially for those of you that like to do games at Starfire. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get from field 2 to field 11. So don't give yourself just 5 minutes between the game times. Often that's also why your assigners are not giving you those games when you request them, is because you don't have enough time to get from one to the other. And if you're changing venues, make sure, especially in the Puget Sound area with all of our lovely traffic that has come back, that you got enough time to get from one place to the next. And so as a parting thought here, I just want everybody to remember that we have 3.5 months of games coming up. Make sure that you pace yourself, but yet you're challenging yourself. Reach out to your assigners if you need any help in getting on the games, or if you have games that don't go well and you want to talk through what may be some tools you could have used for it to be more successful. Please don't get hurt. I already have enough referees that have gotten hurt and are nursing injuries. And so let's all pace ourselves so we don't get the injury bug. And then I challenge all of you to find a friend that wants to referee, whether that be a high school referee or begin refereeing. We need more referees. So please recruit as many referees as possible. Just so that you know, the new referee process has changed a little bit. Probably most of us on this call, when we became a referee, we went in, we signed up for a class on a particular day. We then went and completed our online modules. The process has changed. So now somebody who wants to become a referee, they sign up, they complete their online modules, and then they select a date to do the clinic. And so I'm sharing that information so that way you can help all the people that you're going to refer to become a new referee on how the process works, to make sure they know, just go get your clinic done. And after you get your clinic done, you'll be able to see what dates are available. And I think that the SRC is doing a good job of trying to provide referee classes all over the Puget Sound pretty regularly. So it's pretty close to people's homes. And with that, any questions that anybody has? Or did everybody fall asleep?
Hey, Richard, Craig Thomas here.
Yep.
Hey, I might have missed this. I checked in late because I was struggling getting the link to come up on my computer. Arbiter, I noticed, and I think Chris Barbara is having the same issue, is when we sign up for matches, we only get so referee for the JV and AR2, but not AR1. We're not able to select AR1. So I think there's a glitch, or is there something that we need to do?
Yeah, I thank you. Thank you for the email. I need to go in and look at the settings. Unfortunately, one of the nice things that high school did this last year is the high schools actually load their own games to the website. The unfortunate part is they wiped out all of our settings that we had established over the last 5+ years that made everything work. And so we're still trying to tinker with everything that we used to have set up to make sure it works right. So if you are experiencing problems with Arbiter, please let me know, because it may not be purposeful. It most likely is not purposeful. It's just something that we haven't fixed yet.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
Hey, Richard. This is Vasilius.
Hey, you're not driving anymore.
No. So, a quick suggestion over here. I've been on the tournaments, drive my son for games, and I saw a lot of new referees, which was amazing. Young kids to be on the field and play the games. With a good way, try to, about the uniform, how to present themselves on the field. I saw a lot of new referees. I'm pretty sure nobody from us over here doing that, but if they saw somebody, with a shirt out of the shorts, just have them told them, with a nice way to tuck in the shirt. That happens a couple of times. I just approach them nicely, and I try to told them that it's you represent yourself better on the field, and on the parents that you see. One kid, he was really offended. He didn't want to listen. I didn't go any further. I just let it go and walk on my way. But yeah, is that the right way to do it? I mean, it's just something that I think it's the best for everybody.
Yeah, no, I think you are making a good point, Vasilius, is that, there's, I don't know, we've got 500 plus referees in our association. And I know I'm not going to make it to every single field to make sure everybody's properly dressed. And we really do have to help each other know kind of what is the right way to do things. And as you said, it sounds like, there's going to be some referees. I think all of us get into officiating for different reasons. Some of us do it because we love the game, and we want to provide this as an opportunity for whether it be adult or youth players to have a way to play soccer. Others of it, this is a job. I'm making my $25 an hour, and I'm happy. And I don't like to tuck my shirt in, and I'm just going to always go with my untucked shirt. And as we all know, that their games probably would be a little bit more challenging than they need to be. But yeah, it's just like what I say in regards to on the field. What we permit, we promote. And so if we're seeing a referee that's not doing something correctly and we're not sharing that feedback, we're just doing a disservice to that referee, because we're thinking that they're going to think it's okay because nobody told me differently. Just like with our players, when we don't call those simple fouls, they think that those are okay fouls to commit, and you're just going to get more of them on the pitch. Anything else? Anything else in the chat, Jeremy?
I had a question.
Yes.
Someone told me that there was no age requirement on the advanced grassroots. Is that still going on or not?
So I'm going to say I would look at the SRC website, because I know at one point there was not an age limit, but I think there may have been put one back on.
Okay.
And it's my understanding that the 2022 research material is available on the SRC website. So people should be able to, if they haven't registered yet for 2022 and want to officiate this fall, they should be able to get on and register and do that training and be able to officiate again.
Hey, Richard, this is Vasilius again. Just a quick thing on this question. This weekend, I ran with 15 years old for for upgrade or to be a grassroots. So I don't know if that helps.
Oh, you mean they ran the fitness test?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was 15 years.
Yep. So the fitness test I know has been a requirement in the past for people to be able to go to regional tournaments. And so I've been encouraging youth that want to go down that path and be able to have the regional tournament opportunities to run the fitness test. As well as many of you know, we do up people's rankings based on passing the fitness test. Okay.
Fitness test, good. Yes.
Anything else, Jeremy?
There's just questions about order of color of referee jersey to purchase. So some people made some suggestions, but yeah.
And if you're going to officiate for Valor, make sure you have a color beyond yellow.
Beyond yellow.
And I do agree with most everybody's been wearing green out that way. So that's a good second color jersey. Well,
thank you, Richard. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys taking some time. Hopefully you got some type of information out of our call this evening that will help you in your games this fall. And I wish you all the best of luck. And please reach out with any questions, comments, or concerns. Have a good evening, everyone.
Sure,
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Dave.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Richard.
Good night.
Thank you so much. Thank you.